Hi, friends and family all over the world. Happy Spring Equinox week in the Northern Hemisphere, the Fall Equinox in the Southern Hemisphere, and full moon in Virgo. It's also going to be Aries season, and I was actually born on the Aries ingress exactly. It's going to be my birthday, my solar return, and it's going to be my 40th time around the sun. Yay! This episode was always planned. I was always going to do this special episode before my birthday because I wanted to bring light and love and a little bit of joy and spring awakening onto the consciousness, onto our planet. And we're going through some heavy shifts and heaviness, but I do believe that there's always opportunities for love and for joy and for play and for coming together, that I think that we have to hold that really tight within us and also hold that within our hearts. And yeah, I just wanted to come on here today to share a little bit about the actual chart and all of the energies going on March 20th on the spring equinox. And I'm just going to keep saying spring equinox because I live in the northern hemisphere and I'm so excited for spring. So if you live in the southern hemisphere and it's a fall for you, I also love the fall. The energies are the same, just take that into consideration. And there's just so much going on energetically this week, and also for me personally, that I just wanted to share. I just wanted to share. And this is definitely my third house activation in Aquarius, where I'm coming into my own, I'm speaking my truth, I'm sharing, I'm really creating a community, I would say. And yeah, I'm gonna try not to get emotional because I want to get through this in a very clear and concise way. But I just first wanted to say thank you so much for all of your donations. I don't want to name you in case you want to maintain your anonymity on the interwebs, but I received them and I'm so grateful. And I can't even believe that I get to do this. Like, this is just so exciting for me. And also, thank you to everybody who sent me messages and emails over the last week for the episode that I aired last week. It was definitely vulnerable. It made me feel a little nauseous, and I'm just so glad that it helped you listen to your own intuition and your own gut instincts of what you were feeling. And that's really all I want. I'm a forever student, I'm still learning, but I have lived 40 years now on this planet, and possibly even more on this planet, that I'm trusting my wisdom. And that's actually one of the major aspects in the sky this week. On March 14th, Pallas Athena will be conjunct to Chiron, the wounded healer, in Aries, both of them in Aries. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of each of the archetypes and the myth behind each one, but for me, Pallas Athena really, she's an asteroid, and she really signifies wisdom. Ooh, sorry about that. Yes, that was spirit saying, ding, you're right. And Chiron, the wounded healer, is somebody who used his wounds and was able to alchemize that into teaching and being a healer. And he was a mathematician, an astronomer. And I really resonate a lot with Chiron's story. And I know I have like a list of other episodes and other things that I want to talk about before Chiron, but I really resonate with Chiron, and wherever you have Chiron natally in your chart will tell you a lot about where your wounds are, where your healing can actually become the light and actually help you become um, the healer of yourself, and then also bring that light onto others. And so them coming together, in Aries, I really think it signifies the inner wisdom within us when we have faith in our own gifts, and to stand out and be the leader in our own way, and to shine brightly, the leader and the warrior archetype, and however you want that to be expressed. And so I'm 0 degrees of Aries, and that means that I just entered this earth out of my mother's womb as an Aries. For 35 years, I thought I was a Pisces, as most of you know my story, until I got my natal chart read, and that's when I learned that cusps don't really exist, and that the degree points of your sun, moon, and rising really matter. And so I always thought I was a Pisces, and in Vedic astrology, I am a Pisces, but and I think that signifies an awakening of some sorts, because Pisces is my fourth house of my roots, my ancestry, my familiar background, my psychological roots and home, where I feel nurtured. It's where my IC is. So when I found out that I was an Aries, which is conjunct my IC, but in a different sign, it really signified actually me stepping away from tradition and from what my ancestors' stories were, and to heal that ancestral line and to do that work. And those, it's like magic how that all works, of when I found out that I was an Aries to when all of that work started happened around the same time. And that's when I really started getting into astrology and studying my own chart, and realizing, oh shit, like I'm an Aries. And anytime I tell people, they're like, of course you're an Aries. You're like a typical Aries. And it's also interesting when you have more awareness about these things that you start to embody those energies more. So anyway, I just thought that was a funny entry point into me finding out that I was an Aries, and also the beginning really to my studies of astrology and my own spiritual awakening, as it might be. And when I say awakening, I just mean having more awareness that there's more than just this physical reality, and that there's more things going on beneath the surface and around us that we can't sense with our physical senses. So I just wanted to kind of first, before we get to Sunday, March 20th, to give you a little roundup of this week, of this energy. And by the time this podcast goes up, and if you're watching the YouTube version, this goes up, it will be Wednesday. So I'm recording this on Sunday, March 13th, a week before my 40th birthday. Woo! I'm so excited. And actually, I planned this exactly because I wanted to record this when the Sun and Neptune were conjunct, and this is happening in my fourth house, like I mentioned. And the Sun Neptune conjunction to me feels very just like hopeful, dreamy, compassionate, unconditional love. And as I always mention in all of my talks, I guess you can say, in all of my videos and all of my platforms, is there's always a light and dark side. It's really your choice of which one you want to express. And I personally have a very, very hard aspect with my own Sun to my own Neptune. And so it's been a lifetime learning of how to use the Sun Neptune energies. And so when I lean more into spirituality, when I lean more into love and trusting the unknown, and art and music and beauty, that's when those energies get expressed. But the downside to that is when you are afraid and you are in the unknown, and when you're in the foggy waters of Neptune, it can also lead to escapism, a little bit of addiction maybe. And it doesn't have to be addiction in the form of, let's say, substances or alcohol, but it could be addiction to social media, scrolling. It can be addiction to stress, overworking, food. any pick your poison, right? So to me, when I present these energies, I always like to say both, but also highlight the ways in which we can express the higher timeline. So I am under the beams of this Sun Neptune conjunction, and I just want to send everybody so much love and so much compassion and so much hope into the collective sphere. So whenever you're listening to this, energy moves beyond time and space, and I just send that all to you so much because I hope you can feel how much I love all of you and how much I care about all of you. Even though I don't know you, I can feel your energy, and that is what's coming through. On March 17th, Mercury will be sextile Uranus. So Mercury in Pisces will be sextile Uranus and Taurus. And sextiles are 60-degree angles. They are the nature of Venus. And I like to think of sextiles as planets that have sex, who vibe together, who are attracted to one another and want to form some kind of magic together. So Mercury in Pisces is like psychic downloads, automatic channeling, automatic journaling. If you've ever read Julia Cameron's book, Artist's Way, you know about the morning pages. And if you don't know, it's basically every morning you wake up and the first thing you do is just free write. And it's kind of like you're downloading your thoughts onto paper. It also really, because I have Mercury and Pisces natally in my chart, it's this stream of consciousness where one idea goes to another idea, goes to another idea. And obviously, if you listen to my podcast and you've watched me on YouTube, you know that happens a lot. I'll be talking about something and I'll get sidetracked and start talking about something else, and then something else will pop into my brain, and then I'll get really like sidetracked. And I also speak in metaphors and allegories, and I also bring up a lot of films and music because Mercury and Pisces is very much a configuration and a sign of being tapped into another world, another dimension. When I think about Mercury and Pisces, I think of like Disney and fantasy and Avatar, like all of those worlds that are just dreamt up is Mercury and Pisces. And then sextile Uranus and Taurus, something like a sudden aha moment, a sudden like, I have this great idea, I have this amazing thing I want to birth that I want to bring into this world, because Taurus is like a very earthbound sign. It's very creative, it's very generative, and I really like this energy like for me personally, because they're in areas of my life where I feel the energy building up there. So again, these sextiles are opportunities. When they come up, it's up to you to take them. But I feel like that's with everything in our chart. We have free will. We can't just sit back and let, Jesus take the wheel sometimes, yes, but also we need to help Jesus or the universe or whatever you like to call it. On March 18th, we have Venus sextile Chiron, and what I was saying about Chiron, the wounded healer, is in Aries right now, and Chiron in Aries is very much this, I don't want to be a victim anymore. I want to be my own savior. I'm going to stand up in my own leadership, in my own empowerment, and get after it. Venus right now is in Aquarius, and Venus in Aquarius to me is like friends and like having really good group of friends and getting together with friends. So even though I just said that about Chiron and Aries of feeling this need to be independent and feeling this need to, heal wounds of codependency, maybe, I think Venus sextile Chiron is like getting together with amazing friends who see you and who hold space for you and who make you feel like the main character of your own story. On that same day, we have a full moon in Virgo, and I do lunations on my YouTube channel if you want to watch, and I channel messages for each of the rising signs, and I do that for the new and full moon of every month. And so I'm not going to go into detail about this full moon because I do a whole treatment of it, and I channel the chart and I channel the energies for each rising sign. But just really quickly, I really love this full moon in Virgo. I really feel Virgo is such a beautiful sign of being of service, of being, you know, really, really dedicated to something. So this full moon is going to be at 27 degrees with the moon being in Virgo, and 27 degrees with the sun being in Pisces. And this is the sixth out of six full moons at 27 degrees. It's going to be trine to Pluto in Capricorn. So again, I believe it was a couple of months ago where we had a full moon in Taurus in Scorpio season, right? Where it was also 27 degrees of Taurus. And so it's hitting those trines again. And to me, the full moon trining Pluto is like, was it Malcolm Gladwell that said it takes 10,000 hours to be an expert at something? And Virgo rules the sixth house in astrology. The sixth house is all about daily habits, routines, and rituals. It's things that you do every single day in your mundane life to ultimately get your human experience into a more spiritual space. Because we are spiritual and human. We're having a human experience, and that's how our soul grows here on earth. So whatever you are working on, whatever you are dedicating yourself to, of being of service, of being that Virgo, wherever Virgo is in your personal chart, and it's trining Pluto of transformation in Capricorn. And Capricorn, it's in its last, Pluto is in its last degrees of Capricorn, meaning it's finishing up that cycle. It's going through the rebirth, the transformation phase of like, hey, we've been here for 15 years, or what, since 2008. We're wrapping up this story. Now it's time for the rebirth. Now it's time to transmute all of the lessons that you've learned into this new structure, this new way of being for the long term. I personally love this because they're both in earth signs, and Virgo is ruled by Mercury, which normally, yes, Virgo is a very analytical sign, and it is definitely the shadow side of Virgo is analysis by paralysis, not feeling like it's good enough. Sometimes also like thinking too much of the worst case scenarios, like creating. I have a sister who's a Virgo sun, so I know this archetype very well. She has other things going in her chart that mitigate a lot of the shadowy Virgo sides, but what I can say is when I observe her and the way that her mind thinks and the way that she navigates is like she needs structure, she needs a routine, um, she needs to have this sense of like daily ritual and daily habits in order for her to feel more free in doing other things. And it like really, really surprises me how structured she is and how dedicated and how disciplined she is, because I'm just like, it's a Saturday, like just chillax. But she'll be waking up early, doing her morning routine and working out, and she's just so structured. It's like really, really inspiring to me. And it's probably why we're sisters, right? Because I need more of that in my life. But I love you, Sarah, if you're listening to this. But yes, the full moon in Virgo, I really love this full moon. Full moons are, yeah, a very emotional time because they bring up a lot of the shadowy parts of ourselves that we don't see normally throughout the lunation phase. But when we see the moon and we see the light being shown on our shadows, yeah, it's not easy. It's never fun to be like, hi, hi shadows. So that is why the full moon always stirs up big emotions, and it's a culmination of emotions that maybe you weren't privy to before, but it's always a time for me to celebrate abundance and also what we do have versus what we don't have. And I feel like that's also a huge theme for Pisces season going into Aries season, because Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It's all about releasing and letting go. And it is very much the waning phase of this is the end of this story, and we're starting an astrological new year with Aries, and the sun is exalted in Aries, and we're starting something fresh. So I really feel like collectively, I mean, I can only tell you personally, I've been going through this. I've been really allowing and just being in the receptive mode of like things that I can't even really put into words, but just asking spirit's help to help me release, help me let go, so that I can be ready for Aries season, which is on Sunday, March 20th. Um, the sun enters Aries and Mercury is conjunct Jupiter, which is like such a beautiful energy. Mercury is like the messenger, the communicator, and Jupiter is in its home sign of Pisces. It's expansive, there's so much opportunity. And again, the sun is exalted in Aries. So, really quickly, the sun is in its home sign of Leo. When it's in its home sign, it has all of its resources. It's like when I'm at my home, I have access to everything. I have, oh my God, there's a cat in the window. Oh my God, that just scared me. Whoa. Hi, Spirit. Wow. It was an orange cat, if anybody wanted to know. So, wow, that just was like a sign from Spirit. Because, you know, Leo is a cat. So when I'm in my home, I have access to my clothes, my books, my underwear, like stuff like that. When the sun is in an exalted sign like Aries, you're in, like, let's say I'm at my sister's home. So I'm comfortable because she's my sister, but I don't necessarily have all my stuff. I don't have my books. I don't have my crystals. So it feels good, but it's quite not as home. And then when a sun is in its detriment, like the sun would be in its detriment in Libra, which is the opposite sign of Aries, it doesn't have anything. It's like being at your enemy's home. But I don't like to look at astrology that way because it sounds so doom and gloom. But that's just to give you an example that the sun has a lot of energy and force in the sign of Aries. And yeah, so that is like the buildup of energies until we get to Sunday, March 20th, 40 times around the sun for me. It's interesting because I've been doing a daily vlog on my TikTok, 28 days until I turn 40, and every day I do a video about my reflections and about my experience and all the things that I've learned. When I turned 18, I graduated high school, and so that felt like a very big milestone. When I turned 21, it was the first time that I had lived away from my family. I was actually in Spain studying abroad, and I spent my 21st birthday in Sevilla, Spain. And that just seemed like a huge milestone because it was after 9/11, and I just felt I need to live my life to the fullest because I just don't know what's ever going to happen. And then my 30th birthday, which started my 30s, I spent it with my ex at the time, and he rented out this. It sounds so silly saying it now because I really do feel like it was a different time and a different version of myself that I still love and cherish. But he rented out the Dream Hotel. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that in New York, but it was really hip at the time. And he rented out a section and invited all of my friends, and we partied till like 5 a.m. and drank and danced and had fun, and it was super fun. and he brought me to Puerto Rico for my birthday, and that's how my 30s started. And then now my 40s, we're having a cacao circle. My dear friend Florencia Friedman is leading the circle, and my friends are going to be there, my family's going to be there, and it's just such a different vibe than how I started my other milestones, but it just feels right to where I am today. And originally I had wanted to go away because that's what I love to do for my birthday, but my mom wanted to spend this huge milestone with me. So um, this birthday, the theme is in bloom, which is why I'm wearing a floral shirt. And my best friend is creating her signature charcuterie boards, and it's in the theme of flowers and spring and bringing in this energy of being in bloom. Last year, for my birthday, I had a few friends. My friend, who is a Virgo sun, invited me and a couple of my friends. It was still during the panorama, obviously, over to her home in upstate New York, and the theme for that one was fire, because I'm an Aries, obviously, and I love burning things. And so I asked each of my friends and my sister to bring something that they wanted to burn away. And my friend Tanya, who had us over, wanted to burn her journal. I burned a couple of love notes that I had from my exes, and everybody brought something that they wanted to burn. And I really felt like 2020 to 2021 was like burning away, metaphorically, of course, parts of my identity that I was ready to let go of. And and then now I really feel within bloom. Again, I have my Mercury in Pisces, so I speak metaphorically and I live in metaphor, that I'm ready to become the person that I feel my soul has always wanted me to be. And honestly, um, I think it's right on time. And I don't believe that divine timing, again, like I've shared this so many times on all of my platforms, I don't believe divine timing is like spirit or the universe has a calendar and they're like, okay, on March 20th, 2022, Laura's going to be X, Y, and Z. I really feel like it's this seed that we're born with, and each each time we discover a part of ourselves or uncover or unfold a part of ourselves, a part of us blooms. So, like an onion, like a blooming onion. But I also really love the metaphor of a flower becoming in bloom, because each of us are so special, and each of us are meant to be our own unique expression of a different flower and of a different plant. Okay, if you don't like flowers. And it's only that we forget, with conditioning, with programming, with wanting to be accepted, wanting to be included in the pack, included in the tribe, included in the community, that we lose parts of ourselves. And I'm talking with my hands now, very Mercury, right? And we have this veil over ourselves. And apocalypse in Greek, or Latin maybe, means uncovering of the veil. And each time you do that shadow work, which is a very 3D practice, right? The illusion, the Maya, you uncover a part of yourself that you've locked away or that you've abandoned because for whatever reason. And it comes out again, it like shines brightly, because ultimately your soul is so bright that it will try to make you not forget. It will try to remind you, as long as you're willing to listen. I actually wrote down a quote, or not a quote, but something that came into my consciousness when I was exercising, which usually happens. um, so I was thinking about this a lot, and in a couple of weeks, I don't know exactly, my publisher has to give me the exact date, but they want me to officially announce my book and the launch of it. But I was like, I already told all my podcast family, because I feel very comfortable with them. Even though I'm like talking to a screen right now, I'm like, they already know. So in the book, I talk, and I'm going to make an official announcement once they give me the green light. But I have a chapter on shadow work, and shadow work is a very, well, it's a Jungian concept. And there's parts of our higher self, though, that has a mission and a purpose that sometimes we don't necessarily have control over, and we can't necessarily shut down. I hope I'm making sense here. So, for example, one shadow that I thought that I had to work on was I always felt like I was attracting people, um, who, specifically friends, who I had conflicts with, and I always was wondering, like, why do I have so many difficult relationships with friends throughout time, right? I don't necessarily have, um, I have so many different kinds of friends and different friend groups, and people come into my life and they leave. People come into my life and they leave. It's like this like flow of energies all the time. And I do have one best friend who's making the charcuterie board, who I've had since I was 12, and my sister, obviously, who's my best friend. But there are these waves, right? And I had this amazing, um, astrology reading, tapping energy session with my friend, and I'm going to introduce her again formally when she's ready, because I said that I wanted to shout her out. And she was like, "Oh, it's because Saturn is in the bends of your north node." And I was like, "Oh shit, that's right." So that's something that no matter how much shadow work I do, I can't control. I can't not have different kinds of people coming into my life. Um, it's just a mission that my soul, my higher self, decided to imprint into me. So no matter how much shadow work I do, sometimes, actually, it's granted that I'm going to meet people that I have conflict with, and most of most of them are karmic, because it's I have Saturn retrograde in my chart next to Pluto. And it's just something that no matter how much shadow work I do, it is a fact of what my soul decided to incarnate into in this lifetime. And I was like, thanks, soul. But with me doing my shadow work, I can very much create boundaries, and I can know how to work with that energy in my human form. So I explained all of that to say that there are some things that you can do with shadow work in your human experiences, but then there's other parts of your soul and your soul print, and like what your higher self chose to incarnate with in this lifetime, that you don't necessarily have control over, but you do have the free will to make it easier. So that's what I wanted to say. And I just learned this literally like 2 days ago. So I'm a forever student. I'm always learning, and sometimes you learn things when you're ready to learn them. And but when I did learn that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense." That makes so much sense why, I always used to blame myself for like attracting these bad vibey people, but it really was just my soul is like, that's just what you decided to do. You just decided to have that kind of configuration in your chart. So, getting to what I wrote down while I was exercising, I wrote, what kind of experience do I want to have? And this goes along with the whole book of what I wrote was manifestation for me is more about the experience and your co-creation of your life versus the actual things that you're wanting to attain. It's a part of the process and it's a part of us being human, but really manifestation is you creating your life. You co-creating your life with a divine partner, with a universe, spirit, God, Jesus, whatever deity or whatever God source, life force energy that you work with, what kind of experience do I want to have? And then having as much awareness as possible is like the key to everything. I'm quite certain, because again, I would not have realized that about the shadow work versus like what my soul is like incarnated here to do unless I had awareness around that. And then we have the free will as humans to make it easier and to navigate this life, this beautiful life. And one thing that I did want to say that I always want to say is I always do say that you can always ask for guidance. You can always ask your ancestors, spirit, your angels or archangels if you work with them, or your deities or whoever you work with. You can always ask for guidance and signs. But also when they don't answer, or when there's like crickets, because sometimes there are crickets for me, that is the answer. They're always encouraging us to trust ourselves, because after all, we incarnated onto this earthly plane to have an experience, to grow our souls, and to experience life. People ask me all the time, what's my purpose here? What am I supposed to be doing? I really believe we're just meant to have the most fun, most joy, experience life, and savor every drop, every moment of life that we have. And if there's any lesson in observing war in real time, and all the shit that we've experienced collectively together, it's that life is so precious and life is so short, and nobody knows, like, if it's going to be Ukraine, if it's going to be, Afghanistan or Yemen or Somalia, or, any other country in this world, 9/11, what happened in 9/11. Nobody is saved from the perils of colonization and imperialism and all the darkness that is going on in this world. When we are all free, when one of us is free, all of us is free, and it's our liberation at stake here. So I really feel that when you get overwhelmed with the global things that are happening, because when 9/11 happened, 9/11 happened in 2001. That was before Instagram. That was before even, Jesus, how old am I? I think that was even before Facebook. Yeah, because I got Facebook in 2008, I think. So we were less aware of what was going on. It wasn't in our face 24/7. Now it's in our face 24/7, and it could feel like the world is crumbling all around us. But in reality, all of this has been happening this whole time. Just your awareness of it has changed. So when you feel overwhelmed, just know that you working on yourself, you loving your life, you living in joy, you finding what is sacred to you, your family, your community, is what's going to uplift the collective and what's going to uplift the vibration of this planet. So I wanted to quickly end this by pulling a card for all of us. This is from the Work Your Light Oracle deck by Rebecca Campbell. I love these decks. They're a little bit star-seedy, which I really resonate with. And I also wanted to say, it took me 40 years to figure out, like, to accept who I truly am, and the weirdness that I am, and the quirks and intricacies and the multi-layered and the nuance of who I truly am, and also why I'm here, and how I'm able to lift others up through their own shadows and through their own fears and through their own traumas, and to transmute that into their dream lives. Like, that took me 40 years. And I'm not saying if you're watching this and you're 60 and you're like, fuck this, I'm fucked. No, we all have a divine timing for our own lives. So it doesn't, to me, it's like living in this timeline of getting married when you're 27, having kids before you're 30, and having, like, that's, I knew from a very, very young age that was all bullshit, and that was something that I did not want to, I unsubscribed. I unsubscribed to all of that stupid fucking shit. Like, I just did not agree whatsoever. So, if you're listening to this and you think that it's too late and that, like, you're lost or you don't know what's happening, it's such a, it's so cheesy because throughout all of my 20s and 30s, I just wanted somebody to tell me what I was supposed to do. I just wanted somebody to point me in the right direction. And once I stopped focusing on the destination and just started to live in the moment to moment and what felt right to me and listening to my intuition and my gut, that's where I was being led, was just back to myself. Just back to who I was meant to be, was just me. Fuck. And I just watched The Adam Project last night on Netflix with Ryan Reynolds, who's such a cutie patootie, Jennifer Garner, Mark Ruffalo, and it was such a beautiful, like, representation of what I'm talking about here. It's Ryan Reynolds, Adam, who goes back in time to fix something. I won't give it all away, but he meets with his younger self, and this whole thing is healing your inner child, your relationship with your parents, mourning the loss of what was and accepting what was so that you can live in the future, and also forgiveness and love for family. And there's this one scene at the end where future Adam talks to younger Adam and is like, you were the best part of this whole thing. I mean, okay, so we're going to end this with one card, and I'm going to read the guidebook reading. Spirit, angels, ancestors, what do you want the collective of Awaken and Align to know for this spring equinox, this new beginning, this blooming? All right. Star Mother, how can you mother yourself? And if you're listening to this on the podcast, I think it looks like Mother Mary with roses at the bottom. And I'm going to read the book meaning. And it's interesting because one of the things that I, after my session with my friend yesterday, she was like, you need to chill out. You need to take better care of yourself. And I'm like, I know, which is for me to say that I'm going to definitely take a break next week, possibly for 2 weeks, because I need to, like, chill. I need to recuperate my energy. I'm like the Energizer Bunny. I just don't quit it. So, Star Mother, you are more held than you could possibly imagine, loved and cherished so dearly that if you knew, you would not spend 1 second of your life in separation, worry, or fear. Let the mother carry your burdens. Let her rock away your fears. Lay all of your worries, regrets, shame, and guilt on her altar. Please, please, sweet child, do not fear. You are love in motion. If you allow it, you are already healed. I don't know why I'm talking like this. Let her remind you of your goodness. Let her love away your fears. Your capacity to love and hold others is limited to your capacity to love and hold yourself. Be compassionate with your sweet mind, body, and soul. Treat yourself like the beautiful spirit that you truly are. Remind yourself that you are doing your best and try not to carry it all on your own. You have got this, and the mother has got you. Let your broad arms take away your burdens. Let her broad arms take away your burdens. Let her lift the weight of the world off your shoulders. Forgive yourself, my dear sweet child of earth. How can you mother yourself? I'm going to read that again because I was trying to, like, integrate that into my own self, but then it made me sound really robotic. So, Star Mother, how can you mother yourself? You are more held than you could possibly imagine, loved and cherished so dearly that if you knew, you would not spend 1 second of your life in separation, worry, or fear. Let the mother carry your burdens. Let her rock away your fears. Lay all of your worries, regrets, shame, and guilt on her altar. Please, please, sweet child, do not fear. You are love in motion. If you allow it, you are already healed. Let her remind you of your goodness. Let her love away your fears. Your capacity to love and hold others is limited to your capacity to love and hold yourself. Be compassionate with your sweet body, mind, and soul. Treat yourself like the beautiful spirit that you truly are. Remind yourself that you are doing your best and try not to carry it all on your own. You have got this, and the mother has got you. Let her broad arms take away your burdens. Let her lift the weight of the world off your shoulders. Forgive yourself, my dear sweet child of the earth. How can you mother yourself? Yeah, I really feel this also. If anybody celebrates or observes Easter, which is all about Jesus and Jesus's resurrection, the life, death, and rebirth cycle of life, and also Chiron, the wounded healer, was immortal. And it talks about the fact that he was wounded and he couldn't necessarily die, but he was in incredible pain. And the way he was able to use that pain was to help others. And I find that very resonant with Jesus' story, where, to me, this is just my belief. I grew up in the Christian church, but my belief since then is that Jesus' story is a parable of that the fact that we're immortal, our souls are immortal, but our skin suits die away. And so there is this sense of our lives being temporal, like butterflies. They only live to a week, I think. That this experience that we're having in this moment is so precious and so temporary, but our souls are immortal. The parts of us that live forever and infinite and a part of God and a part of Source lives on forever. So I don't know who needed to hear that, but this really is just another message of taking care of yourself and not to worry, not to fear, and to just take care of yourself. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much again for all of your love and support. I will be back and I will share with you everything that happened on my big 40th celebration and my solar return. But I'm sending you all so much love and peace, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.